I'm Jacob Courtwright, and this is The Locker Room. Hello and welcome into a special edition of The Locker Room, NBA edition. I'm very excited about this episode, very excited that basketball is back with us. First and foremost, before we get started, I do apologize. I do have a slight nasal infection right now, so if I do sound a little bit more annoying than normal, it is because I'm sick, not because I'm doing anything else to be more annoying. Also, follow The Locker Room at Twitter, at TLR with Jacob. Follow us on Facebook at The Locker Room, host Jacob. Follow us on Instagram at The Locker Room Podcast 615. Let's get started. First and foremost, welcome back, NBA. How we have missed you. What an incredible first 2 days of basketball. First, we have games going on today as well, so let's not leave that out. The Denver Nuggets got routed by the Miami Heat earlier. Oklahoma City is beating the mess out of the Utah Jazz right now. And we've got the Clippers versus Pelicans, which is going to be one of the best games of the night. And then to finish off the night, of course, we have the Los Angeles Lakers taking on the Toronto Raptors. Go LeBron James, even though you did not have a great opening game, which we will get to in just a moment. Let's go ahead and start with the aesthetic of it all, kind of first face impressions for me. I love it. I love it. It reminds me of the NCAA tournament. When I was watching the pregame before the Lakers and Clippers game the other night, it reminded me of Dayton versus a Kentucky before the big Duke game the night before. Or, you know, it reminds me of these college games that are in these smaller stadiums in the smaller towns, like when Nashville has them. Even Nashville is considered a smaller town for the NCAA tournament, right? So it reminds me of going to those games and watching a Texas versus whatever, Texas versus Dayton, a Texas versus Rhode Island, one of these off-brand teams. And then when you get to the big games, it reminds me of the big game of the night. It reminds me of the Sweet 16 games. I love the atmosphere. I love the energy that the players are playing with right now. The players look locked in, but they also don't look top-notch. And it's showing pretty badly in the shooting. I think the shooting is suffering tremendously. It looks like when you first grab a basketball and you're in rec league, right? It reminds me of a lot of rec leagues right now. It looks like the rec league championships going on. There's a lot of air balls, a lot of heavily brick shots, and that's just the players not having their legs under them, not being used to running full court, playing full court defense, and having to be efficient on the offensive side. So once these players get their legs under them, I think you'll see the ball handling be a whole lot better. You'll see shooting go up by probably 16-17%, I would say, without a doubt. It's been pretty poor, the shooting. But other than that, I love the aesthetic of it. I think that it reminds me of a college atmosphere. The only negative criticism that I really have is I think the 6 foot apart, which I know that that's regulation, bench is a little awkward. But the biggest thing is the virtual fans. I thought I was going to like it. To me, it looks a little bit too cheesy. It looks like we're really trying to phone in. I would be much better off with just no virtual fans, just let ads play on the side, you know, have Dunkin' Donuts telling you that they have a new iced coffee, or have 7-Eleven do one of their 15,000 commercials that comes on every single day. Those are the only kind of criticisms I really have to the NBA restart, and that's very minuscule. I think the games so far have been awesome. They've been exciting. They've been close. There's been very few blowouts until today. We've had a couple big blowouts. We've had 2 overtime thrillers. James Harden was magnificent last night. Overall, I like it. I like it a lot. Let's go ahead and we're going to talk about the first couple days of the NBA, though. So let's start off with the first game of the night, the Utah Jazz versus the New Orleans Pelicans. What did I see that surprised me between the Jazz and Pelicans? Not much. I think Zion Williamson is going to be a very efficient offensive player in this league. Health concerns definitely scare me. He was on a minute restriction. I'm not all on the Zion Williamson is the greatest player to ever walk the earth train like a lot of these people are, but I think Zion Williamson is extremely efficient on the offensive side of the ball. Once, I guess, he gets his legs under him, and once he gets in a full 30 to 35 minute role, I'd like to reevaluate Zion. Right now, it's really hard. He played a very restricted role. He scored, it looked like, almost every single time he took the ball to the basket. But the problem was he didn't play a whole lot of defense, almost no rebounding, and their efficiency rating was higher when Zion was off the court. I don't know if that's just not having Zion around for the last couple weeks to practice with, and it's going to take time to get used to him. And once they do, I think it could take off. Unsure as to what's going on with Zion Williamson and the Pelicans. Once he gets into a full swing, I think we'll get a better picture of what Zion's going to be in this league. Zion's extremely talented. Zion's a stud. He can score the basketball. What will he be able to do with the New Orleans Pelicans, and what will they want to be doing with him in the offensive side and defensive side of the ball? Are they going to want him to be the go-to guy? Do we want Brandon Ingram to do that? I think there's a lot of guessing that's going to happen and a lot of trial and error with the Pelicans before they really take form into what they're going to become in the near future. Now let's look at the Jazz's side of the ball. I think the Jazz are a very talented team. I think it's very fitting that Rudy Gobert, the person that really started this whole NBA shutdown, of course it would have been shut down in the near future because of COVID, but he was the first person to get tested positive. How fitting was it that he had the game opening basket, actually a foul, and then the game closing basket to win the game? So I thought that was very unique in the sense that the same person that really started this whole pandemic in the NBA was Rudy Gobert, and Rudy Gobert was the one that won the game for the Utah Jazz. Now, the Pelicans and Jazz was a good back and forth to start off with. The problem was Zion's not playing, so you really don't know if the Pelicans could have pulled it off, and the Jazz are not built to go any further than the first round. Definitely an entertaining game. What I would say to the New Orleans Pelicans is, if you're trying to get into the playoffs, why is Zion Williamson in a minutes restriction? You know what happened when he came back from injury at Duke? He played 32 minutes, 33 minutes, and 35 minutes. Don't put him on a minutes restriction. If you want to win, Zion Williamson has to be in that starting lineup. Zion Williamson has to be on the floor for 30-plus minutes. I solely believe that. Even with Zion Williamson really not being up to speed and really not being in as good a shape as he needs to be in, just his presence on the court sends a defender out wide with him. So even if he sits out on the three-point line, you're opening up lanes for great rim attackers like Donovan Mitchell. So, Pelicans, I don't understand what you're doing. Utah, keep pushing. Utah, I'm sorry, but you're there to get knocked out in the first round. You might take a game off of whoever you play first, but I don't see Utah going any further than that. They play too sporadic. They play too inconsistent. Rudy Gobert is one of the most inconsistent big men in the league. Some nights he'll go off for 25 and 12, and he'll be a game-deciding factor like we saw against the Pelicans, and then he'll lay 6 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 fouls in the next game. I'm not so big on the Rudy Gobert train like a lot of people are, but Daddy Ingles, Joey Ingles, has showed that he is a stud. I love you, Joey Ingles. At some point, I'd love to get you on the show. But overall, first game, it was exciting. It was fun. Let's go ahead and move into the headliner of that night, which was Clippers versus Lakers. A couple takeaways from this game, and I know I've had a lot of people message me because a lot of people I talked to, I assumed the Lakers would run away with this thing by 12 or 13, even 15, 16 points. The Lakers ended up only winning by 2 in a game-winning shot by LeBron James. First and foremost, LeBron James was not good quarters 1 through 3. He didn't look comfortable out there. He didn't look comfortable dribbling the basketball, didn't look comfortable shooting the basketball, didn't look comfortable handling the basketball. Anthony Davis is the deciding factor whether the Lakers will be a championship team or the Lakers go out in the second round. Anthony Davis played out of his mind. He cannot be guarded. There's no one on the Clippers roster that can take care of Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis fed the entire night, ended up with 34 points, incredible shooting percentage, 16 out of 17 free throws. What more can you ask for from your second superstar than Anthony Davis dropping 34 and carrying the Lakers to a victory? So LeBron didn't play well, didn't look comfortable. I don't know if it was nerves. I don't know if it was the shock of not having fans out there. But I fully expect LeBron James to come out and shut a lot of people up tonight versus the Toronto Raptors. That's how LeBron works. LeBron always has these one games where he kind of has it looks like he's just mentally not there. But I fully expect him to return to full MVP GOAT form tonight and really handle the Toronto Raptors. What else did I learn from the Lakers side of it? Dion Waiters and Kyle Kuzma are needed more than they know. Kyle Kuzma had an incredible performance on the offensive side of the ball, had pretty good defense throughout the game. Dion Waiters was a playmaker. He was a shooter. He was a rim attacker. He was decent on defense. Those are two key players for these Lakers to really make a push for the championship. So overall, LeBron James did not play well. But here's where James shined. Fourth quarter. 7 points. Of course, we all know that he had the game winner. Anthony Davis did not really do anything in the fourth quarter. I don't know if the Lakers are trying to set up this formula of Anthony Davis go off for the first 3 quarters, LeBron James close it out in the fourth. What I did love about LeBron's game was, of course, the fourth quarter, of course, the game winner, and his defense. He played the best defense I've seen since 2013 when he was in prime shape. He looked great. Defensively, he shut down Kawhi Leonard. Defensively, he shut down Paul George when he needed to. I mean, Kawhi Leonard waved off a screen to take LeBron one-on-one, and LeBron forced him into a fadeaway air ball. I apologize. It hit the back of the backboard below the rim. So, loved LeBron's defense. I think the Lakers' chemistry is incredible. I love the bench. That all has to grow. I need to see that tonight versus the Toronto Raptors. I need to see the Lakers bench improve. I need to see LeBron return to peak form, and Anthony Davis really help carry this team as well. On the Clippers side of the basketball, what did I see? Paul George is the deciding factor whether the Clippers will make an NBA championship or not Kawhi Leonard. I was not impressed with Kawhi. I don't care that he ended up with 29 points. Kawhi didn't look athletic. He didn't have lift on a shot. He didn't look energized. He didn't look good defensively. He looked tired. He had no lift. Everything was flat. Everything was short. He had a couple lucky shots that literally rolled into the basket. He got very good foul calls from the refs. Did not like Kawhi's game at all. Not at all. Paul George played like a stud. Now, Paul George tends to go away when it comes playoff time, but they need Paul George in order to win an NBA championship. Paul George has to be the guy. He has to. Not Kawhi Leonard, it has to be Paul George. Plain and simple. Also, the Clippers bench, with missing as many people as they have, I think the Clippers are thinking that they can just flip on a switch. It's not going to happen. The Clippers are going to run into a brick wall called the Rockets, and the Rockets are going to beat the Clippers in 5 if the Clippers don't wake up and realize that this is important. I'm not even sure that the Clippers will be able to get out of these 8 games in the 3rd spot. They might fall to the 4th. Now, it helped that Denver dropped today, but Denver's also missing 3 starters, which are supposedly going to be back in the next game. I did not like what I saw from the Clippers. I liked the fact that Paul George was balling. I thought Joakim Noah actually did a pretty decent job. They're definitely missing a lot of their players, so I'm not shocked that the Lakers won. I'm shocked that the Lakers didn't pull away. They had a very big lead. At one point, we're up to 13, and they just gave it up. They didn't look like they were playing with a lot of energy. But one thing that I would say as a Lakers fan and or as a Clippers fan, the Clippers and Lakers are always going to go at each other. I think the Clippers came out swinging harder than the Lakers, but the Lakers absorbed those first couple punches. The problem was the Lakers had a lot of open shots that missed that I don't think they're going to miss in the future. The Clippers shot an extremely high percentage, very efficient, and the Lakers did not. If the Lakers hit a couple of these wide open shots, I don't think we're sitting at a 2-point game. It looks like it's probably going to be a Lakers by 9, Lakers by 10, which is what I thought it was going to be in the first place. But overall, LeBron James, the GOAT, he came in, he won the game for them on a game-winning layup after he recovered his own miss, which there was a foul, but no one's going to call that because LeBron James gets no respect. But overall, first great day. Now let's go ahead and move on to the second day. We had a couple really good games happen the second day of the NBA. Well, to start off the day, the Orlando Magic came out and beat up a very, very horrible Brooklyn Nets team. That team literally looks like it was a men's league team, and then someone from the NBA said, hey, would you like to play for the Nets? It's old. It's not got any of its starters, basically, except for 2 or 3. Didn't look good. The Nets are completely done. They went to Orlando for a short vacation, and some of them to get 3 months away apparently from their families was a lot better than just sitting out the rest of the season. The Magic looked good. They came out with a sense of energy.